And there we go.
Oh, shit, I'm nervous.
That's a common.
I need a nervous poo.
A common thing in my case with these podcasts. I've done that many now, and I just don't get any less nervous doing this stuff. I don't know. You've done a few, haven't you?
Done a couple. And yeah, like I'm finding that 80% of the conversation is pretty similar.
Yeah.
But there's a pocket in there of 20% that's different because everyone's experience is different to each other. So they come at mental health or business, whatever it is, from a different angle, and it's a completely different conversation, which I think is awesome because it's great to get perspective and find out more about more people.
Yeah, which I imagine, as you were saying that, it would be quite interesting when you do, go into every single situation you go into. You're having a different person with a different situation, different lived experience around mental health, and you can't really predict what's going to come out of someone's mouth. We were speaking off air before, and probably some of my own anxieties for making sure that if nothing's going to surprise you. I hope I might say some things, and that's just me worrying that am I going to be too much for you, or am I going to shock you or anything? But you're doing that every time you go into a room. Does that just sort of concern you ever? Does it fill you with any form of anxiety, or how do you approach doing that?
It's a good question, and we're probably already dealing with this day to day. Like we always walk into a room where we don't know people and we don't know what they're going to say. So we're all experiencing that anyway. Just because I do it with a podcast host and a microphone doesn't make me any different. But look, it could be nerve-wracking. Someone recently I heard, Steve Curry, he said nerves are free energy. So I'm thinking of it as like that now. But if I don't know the answer to something, the worst thing I could do would be to make it up. So if I don't know the question or don't understand the question or know the answer, then it's just, I'm sorry, I just can't help you right now. I'll get back to you.
My mum gave me that sound advice very early in life. I'll take that on what is it? Take that on notice and get back to you.
Yes.
On that, I've been reading through. So we should cover off. Jack, you've founded a not-for-profit called it's Cool to Cry. And we've a bit of background on how we've come to know each other. It's quite funny, really. You literally just walked into our studio here, and you're a mate of Charlie, who owns Vitadrop, and we share offices. And just one of those interactions that I love, where Charlie's gone, hold on, you two would get along, and we absolutely did.
Yes,
we pretty much did a podcast with no cameras and mics, and I'm very keen to have you come on. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, mate. And yeah, I'm only here because I was getting a puncture in one of my tyres fixed, and the dude from Bob Jane T-Mart comes out and says, mate, got bad news. I'm like, what is it? He goes, well, we can't repair the puncture. We've got to go get a new tyre. It's going to be 3 hours. I'm like, oh, great. So I sit in Bob Jane T-Mart for 3 hours, or I call Charlie and I said, Charlie, can I come in and have that coffee? He's like, yep, no worries. So I was only here that day because the tyre was going to take 3 hours.
That's
the universe. That screw didn't screw me. That screw in the tyre didn't screw me at all, which, just, I don't know, how do you want to look at it?
Like a very positive thing, because it was right out. The timing of this has been just couldn't be any more perfect. I think that day I was coming in, and the night before I was just going back and forth with Vedran, who is on our show, and you've met many times around that creative stuff. And I've been wrestling with we talk about taking the mask off and being yourself, and you're authentic, I guess, to yourself and the audience that I've had. And while I quote unquote took it off, a year ago almost, I don't think I fully have. And this sort of conversation and the topics that you talk about and the work that you do is absolutely where my passion sits. And I don't think I've ever really got into it, and it hasn't been sitting well with me in private. That, there's an absolute spectrum of things that I intentionally do on that page. It's been an outlet. It's been many, many things for me. But if the balance isn't there and the context isn't there as to why I'm taking the piss out of that, why I'm semi-serious over here, then it just doesn't make sense or feel right. But to walk in and have you just standing there, it's like, I get it. Someone's giving me a strong sign.
Alf.
I believe it was. It was Alf Stewart who's sitting behind me for our audio only people.
Get that flaming mongrel in here, mate. I'm not here for my impersonations, but I didn't mind that one. That was all right.
We did discuss whether we should have Alf on our Monday episodes. I'm sure it's semi more serious, still through the lens of taking the pissery, but I think Alf stays.
100%.
What do you reckon?
Yeah. course.
But I'd love to hear about how you founded It's Cool to Cry, and if you're comfortable to talk about that and some of the work you've been doing. I'd love for our audience to hear it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, mate. And to get where I am, I might just cover over one thing. You mentioned not-for-profit before. Just I don't want to confuse anyone. It's a profit-for-purpose business or a social enterprise where I donate some money to charities and not-for-profits. So I just don't want to dress up as something I'm not. But
Yes.
yeah, so I'm here because of a story. That story is sad, and it involves mental illness and suicide. So if that's not in your wheelhouse right now or on the bingo card for your listeners, just, take a break. We can come back another time. But it's important to talk about these things because it's important to talk about the people that died from suicide, because it would be disrespectful if we didn't. If we're going to talk about people that died by a heart attack or a car crash, and we're not going to talk about people who died by suicide, then we've got some issues here. And that's what I'm trying to do, and trying to make people comfortable with it, because if we don't make people comfortable with it, then we're not going to go anywhere, because that's what's been happening, and that's why we're in this mess. So in my 20s, I was dating a girl called Elle, and Elle was young. She was social. She had mates from primary school. She had mates from high school, from uni, from work. She had a loving family, beautiful house and household energy and vibe, like her mum gave and still gives the world's greatest hugs. She was caring. She's studying to become a high school teacher. And all of those things you would suspect to be the foundations for a happy and healthy life, all of a sudden didn't start to matter, because really, really quickly, Elle became that person, the loudest person in the room, to not having the motivation to shower, get out of bed, and leave the house. And despite Ellie's best and bravest efforts, at 25, she died from suicide. And that was obviously very shocking and devastating and tragic, but as a young guy, this was something I had no idea about. And before Elle died, I wanted to try and support her better. And I thought the best way to do that was to go to a therapist and find out more about mental illness and how can I support my girlfriend. But before those sessions could start, Elle ended up dying. So these therapy sessions then became a fact-finding mission on what is mental illness, now what is suicide, and how does someone like Elle, that bright, young, fun, social person, go from that and in a matter of months taking their own life. And the second part of these therapy sessions was about grief and grieving and sadness. And I did those therapy sessions. I thought that I did what I needed to do, and I ticked this box, this fact-finding mission about mental illness and suicide and Ellie's state of mind and how and why she got there and how and why she decided to take her own pain away was satisfied, and I could move forward there. Where I dropped the ball, it was around this grief and the grieving and the sadness. And I remember one day getting ready for work, and I saw a pair of Ellie's runners that she'd left in my closet. And I don't remember if I cried that day, but that was the day that I didn't want to be sad anymore, because I would be crying in the car, I'd be crying in the shower, I'd be crying when I woke up, and I'd cry myself to sleep. And those runners that day just signified the day that I wanted to bottle sadness. And I kept it at arm's length. I didn't want the sick to my stomach feeling anymore. I didn't want the frog in my throat, and I didn't want the uncontrollable tears. So I parked it. And life moved forward. I didn't forget Elle, but I moved overseas. I had new jobs and I had new partners. And years later, I started to see patterns in myself that I really, really wasn't happy with. And I could say and do things to people around me and myself that wasn't serving them and it wasn't serving me. Like I was very hot-headed. I was a bit angry. I was a bit of a prick. And I wasn't the person that I wanted to be, because I was hurting these people's feelings. And at the end of the day, when my head hit the pillow, I was hurting my feelings, because that wasn't the person that I wanted to be. And having grown up in a very loving household, it was still a household with high energy, high emotion, high octane, high anger.
Yep.
And I just thought that this was the person that I was. And my default operating system felt like I was bouncing between happy, angry, happy, angry, happy, angry. And I was always bubbling and I was always ready to have the argument rather than have the discussion.
Yep.
Ready to bite, ready to stand up for myself and always bubbling. And I could never trust who I was going to be and I could never trust my reactions to things. And it was fucking exhausting. Fucking exhausting just trying to hold these feelings in. And when they did come out, it was often rage and anger and there was regret. That's not a sustainable way for me to live. So I went back to a therapist, a new therapist this time, and teased out like what was going on. And I was really lucky in that I had a great therapist and did a lot of work outside of that and found out that emotions aren't good or bad.
Yep.
Emotions aren't positive or negative. It's how we react to them that's important. And what I realized is that by parking sadness that day when I saw Elle's runners is that I'd prematurely halted the grieving process and put a pin in sadness, and it was in turn coming out in an unhelpful way for me, and that was anger.
Yep.
And I learnt this, and it was almost like a penny drop moment, which is unfair for the work that Gemma, my therapist, and I did. But it felt like a penny drop moment because my life changed almost overnight. And when I learnt about leaning into sadness and letting me feel the sadness and also knowing that anger can be there, but acknowledging it and regulating it rather than reacting to it badly and still letting happiness and joy continued, my default operating system changed and it was more of a calm, flowing state. And the intrusive, ongoing, ruminating thoughts started to evaporate and evolve. I'm like, this is the bouncing ball I'm following.
Yep.
This is the route that I want to go. My shoulders are relaxed. My knees are relaxed. I'm having way better conversations with people and I'm treating them and myself better. This is it. I reckon I can do life now.
Yeah.
I reckon I can do this. So that was the route I followed. And in 2021, I get a call and find out that a mate's dad died from suicide. And that naturally threw me back in the pivot of shock where I was with Elle and a shock and confusion with the main emotions, because we have on one hand Ellie, who's young, female, about to start her career. And then on the other hand, we have Matt, who's male, older, and he's just retired.
Yeah.
Like on paper, these two people are polar opposites. How are they dying from the same thing? And what's happening to everyone in between? And what's happening to everyone on the outside? So I decided that I've got to do something based on these tragic stories of Ellie, tragic story of Matt, and what I'd learned about paying attention to your emotions and speaking about what's going on. And that's where, I came up with a heap of shit ideas. Some might say this is still a shit idea, but this is the one I landed on. This is the one I love, and it's called It's Cool to Cry.
Yep.
And originally it was just selling T-shirts to friends, families, anyone who looked at me on the street, anyone who liked an Instagram post, just to get some sort of message out there that could have provoked a conversation that otherwise might not have happened. And now that merch line has really become something where, when you put your Adidas or your Nike or your Puma on and you're prepared or preparing for a physical health challenge, that's that feeling that you get. Well, I want people to wear It's Cool to Cry and know that they're prepared or preparing for a mental health challenge.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, and be proud of your mental health. And these bits of merch can start conversations in organic ways, like whether you're lining up at the for a coffee or at the movies or at the family function, is that people can ask you, what's that shirt mean? And then we're out of the blocks. Yep. There's some sort of conversation happening. And we'll talk about this more, but starting the conversation is 80% of the work.
Yep.
And all I wanted to do then was just to get people talking. The business has changed and it evolves probably like most businesses do, and now there's more to it in that I deliver workshops and partner with charities to deliver events. But the message across all three pillars of the brand is the same, because it's all well and good for me to say, hey, we should be talking more. But it's just not enough to encourage talking. There's got to be ways that we align as men or align as men and women and humans all together to figure out why we aren't talking So that's part of my job. Give people the motivation to talk, give them the tools to talk, and then what's the benefit of talking? And I'll ask you, like, you've probably had some deep conversations in your life or heavy conversations in your life. What's the word or describe the feeling after having those chats?
There's a couple of words. For me, it can be relief. And firstly, thank you for sharing that. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
listening,
it.
mate.
I really
cheers.
just sometimes people speak and you just sit back and go, wow. And that was one of those occasions. So I really appreciate you
thanks.
sharing that with not only
Thanks,
myself, but everyone listening and watching. So just blown away there. But to answer your question, sometimes it's relief, but then there can be a bit of a cycle for me. So it can be relief initially, then I have a fairly anxious sort of thought pattern cycle, I guess, whatever you want to call it, where I'll then go into, what did I say? Should I have said that? Did that make them? I sort of did that off the top. I'm trying to qualify things that I'm saying. It's like in podcasting, we've still got these terms in my head. In post-production, post-conversation, I'll go away and ruminate over that forever. And as you're speaking, there's just so many things there that I'm using in my own life that have worked, and they're little reminders when these conversations pop up to don't forget that thing, like a thing called metacognition, which is you strike me as someone, the way you were describing that something that did help you was emotional versus intellectual understanding of what's going on. And you spoke early with your first experience there, where it was quite an intellectual understanding with your psychologist. So this is what's happened. This is why. Here's the data is, and this is why this is common. But it sounded, at least, you correct me if I'm wrong, that there wasn't an emotional understanding at as much depth with Ellie. Yeah,
it's a really good actually way to look at it, because I haven't heard it like that before. And you're right, almost like the first part of it, the fact-finding mission. Listen to the way I describe it, fact-finding mission.
That's what jumped off the page at me.
It's a great pickup, because it was like, and what did I say? Box ticking exercise and satisfying that. Like, this is very cut and dry, almost binary, yes, no, finding out information. Whereas the other part of it, where I dropped the ball, required the work. This is looking in at me.
That's hard.
Not looking at someone else. And that's why we call it the work, because that's where you got to go, shit.
Which is something just from our discussions we've had and looking into some of the work that you do. I love that you're intent upon giving people tools to take away with them, things that they can use. We talk about raising conversations is it's a lot of the work, but it's not all of it. And that's that other piece of, well, what do I do with this now? And to have a conversation about mental health or suicide or anything that's really emotionally going to hit you, to just then go, thanks for your time. You're probably going to walk away going, well, what the hell? What did I do that for? At least in my experience, I've experienced that a lot. And, that's when that anxiety starts, and that cycle for me, you use the word overwhelm a lot. I think that's my my baseline.
Okay, nice.
Sometimes we call it ADHD. Sometimes we call it just, I'm pretty open about it. I have a social anxiety disorder, and I do have ADHD, and who knows, we'll pull the thread a little more, and it's life is one big exploration for understanding my mind, and I don't think I'm there yet, but overwhelm is one that does resonate with me a lot. What does that feel like for you?
I just want to go back to what you said about pulling the thread and the journey, or however you were in your life. Like, this is it. Like, this is a reminder that there's no silver bullet to physical health. There's no silver bullet to mental health. We will never win physical health. We will never win mental health. We can be winning, but when you're winning, sometimes you're going to be losing too. And to make sure that over the journey, we're tracking up over time and winning more over time. Like, a bad day doesn't mean a bad week, and a bad week doesn't mean a bad month. And I think that's sort of where you're finding yourself now, is like, all right, mask is off.
Yep. Absolutely.
We're going to deep dive, do a bit more of a deep dive. And one step back doesn't mean you can't take 2 steps forward. Then this is for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting, that pick up there, very, very accurate. But all the work that I've done different stages of, I've seen many psychologists and spoken to lots of people, done lots of work on myself, but they've been at different stages of life. And, the work I did at 21, maybe I've forgotten it at 30 when I have to, It's you come to a fork in the road. Well, 35 actually. I was trying to be kind to myself there. I think it was 35 when I decided to quote unquote take the mask off. But have to go through that semi-forced experience of having to take it off, and all the things that I knew were going to come to a head came to a head, and really didn't have a choice but to do it. And a lot of the work I did just went out the window, and I went back into, and still have these weeks and days and things. I'm still trying to find what my process is now at 36. A bad day can be a bad week or a month, or it can go a whole year going, what the fuck was that? That was chaos. But tracking in the right direction, I think was the wording. It does feel like I'm starting to do that a lot better than I may have at 21, then again at 28. That was a real thing. At 28, Jesus Christ, I've had some melts in my life, we like to call them, but 28 was the monster. But tracking in a better direction now, but overwhelm is certainly an undercurrent. Yeah.
So your question to me was, what does overwhelm feel like? And for me, that has changed. And I think it's really good how you look back at what was I want at 21, what was I at 28, and what am I now at 35? That's just growth, right? And for me, 10 years ago, overwhelm would just be these thoughts that would just whiz around my head, unhelpful and relentless, and I didn't know how to calm them. Whereas now overwhelm, that would still feel like overwhelm to me, but they're fewer and further between. Some overwhelm for me as well is when I know that I snap easier. Everyone on the road are assholes. That's when I know.
They are, though. I mean, this is a fact. Let's not ignore the facts here.
And like when something small one day would have made you laugh, this one is when you go, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
So that's when I know overwhelm is happening in my life. There are heaps of different ways that I would unpick it. I am very conscious that overwhelm might be your baseline and might be very different for other people. And it's just really comes back to you're going to have to do a bit of work here to figure out what is your overwhelm or what are your triggers and what's the ways that you're behaving that you don't want to behave anymore. And once you've recognised it, how we're going to address it with people and do something about it.
I'm grinning at you as you're speaking because I'm just thinking of all probably the last 5-6 years, I've become very aware of all those things and the signs that. Funnily enough, the page is a great example of, it's a great reflection of how I'm going at any given time.
Right.
So I just noticed, and Vedran and I were talking about this in his life as well, that if I'm not going too well, then I will start looking for, I have a absolute self-declared, bully the bully syndrome is what I would call it. That's probably my trigger point if there's anything. I don't like abuse of power, bullying, that sort of stuff, and that's I'm very aware of where that comes from, but it's something that can, if I'm, a low state or whatever you want to call it, that can really rear its head up and show itself in, I think you've seen at various stages. Yeah. I mean, if we take it to a less serious level, Virat Kohli putting his shoulder into Sam Consis on the MCG on his debut. Don't you do that, Virat?
Nah,
he's a 19-year-old.
Not on my watch.
And so it can go from very, juvenile, intentionally juvenile sort of scenarios like that. But there's this all the way up to, I think how this page originally sort of blew up. This alter ego of mine was around the time, a friend of mine, Grace Tame, who she's a brilliant woman. She was
Australian of the Year, Grace Tame.
Absolutely.
Wow, cool.
We talk about we were siblings in another life, Grace and I. She's a very, very good mate of mine. But we got to know each other. She didn't know who the hell I was for a very long time, but around the time that the media started to turn on her a little bit. Yep. And there was sections of, we won't go too far into the politics of that, but I saw, if there's a sexual abuse survivor out now who's just won Australian of the Year, and it's seemingly the reason she was being targeted by big, powerful media organisations was because she pulled the face at the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Such a good moment.
Really? Yeah, it was great.
It was so good.
And had another great one recently with the fuck Murdoch thing and on his shirt. I was making some inquiries as to how to get one of those shirts myself. But that really hit something, and it was sort of around that COVID time when we're all sitting at home with our phones in our hands, and that was a pretty big case of she's not as powerful and well funded and all those things that make it easy for you to target someone. I'll go into bat for you, and I just sort of went after the newspapers but not necessarily all the newspapers, but just particular journalists who decided that was a worthy victim of their targeting and sort of gave it back, and that was how this thing sort of blew up. But I digress. I don't know. I lost myself there.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Is that all right? I've heard you speak a few times, and you said it was when you were 28. You said everything that could go wrong did. I don't know if you want to speak about some of those feelings and the emotions and some of the situations, depending on the detail. Like, it's not going to help maybe you now because you know your story and you've spoken about it, I'm sure, in private. But maybe there's some aspects of that story that would help some listeners, and
absolutely
they can figure out.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
It is them.
Absolutely interconnected with what we were just talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
that's 2 years later. That scenario plays itself out, and I'm still unpacking. I guess before it was just very different to unpack it in front of nearly 300,000 people as I'm trying to work my own brain out and process some traumatic experiences I've had along the way and very publicly. But we spoke about off air, not going into details necessarily, so I'll just keep it fairly high level. So you know what I should be doing right now? I'll just notice some emotions in myself and I'll label them before I even...
Mate, unreal.
But I'm still going to talk about, you've got this fantastic tool here. I won't explain this as well as you, but I think just this is totally off the top of my head. I'd love to do this as I'm talking to you right now.
Great.
So there's a wheel. You can actually explain this.
Yes, so this is, I haven't pulled this out of my ass. This is a thing called, I call it the feels wheel. It's called an emotions wheel. This one's been doctored by a doctor. It was actually Dr. Gloria Wilcox. There's been heaps of iterations of this over the journey. This is your emotions cheat sheet. And I'm a big believer in that we don't know how to speak about what we're feeling if we don't know the word for it. And there would be heaps of occasions where I'd be in arguments or in discussions or trying to get things off my chest and I just had no words. And my excuse was, we just didn't have these types of conversations growing up. Where I'm sure we did, but that was my excuse. And the reason I couldn't speak about what was going on in my head and in my heart or body is because I didn't know the word for it.
Yep.
And worldwide, there's a study done by Brené Brown. She's the GOAT with emotions.
Yep.
And she'll tell us out of 7,000 people, the average emotions that we knew was 3. It was happy, sad, and angry. And they're all fine. We need to know those. But we are so much more than that. And that tool has 130 something emotions on it. And it will help us get more granular and get more accurate with what we're feeling. And a bit of a boring sciencey bit here is that if you can do that, if you can accurately label your emotion, this is called affect labeling, you will do something that's it's going to self-soothe your brain. Essentially, name it to tame it is the concept, is a good one to remember. So if you can do that, whether you like it or not, your brain and your body are going to self-soothe and you're going to be able to have more calm, more robust conversations because you're not acting out of a fight or flight response. You can calm yourself down and have these better and more meaningful conversations because you know exactly how you're feeling. And then on the other hand, for the person listening, rather than me saying, I'm angry at you, I can say, actually, I'm angry because I'm humiliated or I'm let down or I'm frustrated. Okay, cool. That's a way better launching pad to have a great conversation rather than I'm angry.
Absolutely.
So that's why we use these tools.
It's a brilliant tool. I actually have used it quite a lot over the weekend.
Good. I see it's stained as fuck.
Yeah, sorry. I was using it that much, so I've just blocked the camera. I was using it that much that it's been right next to me at all times.
Good, mate.
So
thank you.
Right now, as you asked that question, just went into where do I start? Oh my God, how do I get this out? And start. You notice I was qualifying things again? Just qualifying everything before I've even said it. So the first emotion it's fearful. I think if I could label it, the closest one would be fearful, and probably coming from that place of which is the second circle as we move out. It's between, I think, scared, anxious, insecure, probably 3 there. It's hard to label, but anxiety is probably, scared's probably the right thing because it's not a small thing to do, talking about this stuff. And while I've done it before, and it just never gets easier, as you can imagine. But I did have, it's a long story short. I've had multiple instances of suicidal ideation, I guess is probably the way to label it. And I'm going to use some very just terms that aren't what you'll find in the books.
Yeah.
What comes out of me when I think about it. I had to go at myself a couple of times.
Yep.
And one was probably worse than the rest, but there have been different phases of my life where that's crept back in. And even recently, I've had the thoughts have come back, but I have significantly more tools, whether I'm sitting down and actually doing an exercise or not. The information that I now have, even in those states of, and that is what the feeling is like, a complete loss of my ability to rein it back in and regulate and fly a helicopter over the top of it, like you're saying, and just observe my feelings rather than, I'm living in them. That's when it goes, it really fucking goes. And one of them was pretty. I just remember being shocked, I guess, without going too far into it. I went to work. I just woke up and I didn't think I was going to, and I still maintain that I think if I really wanted to go, I'd be gone. I'm finding it hard, funnily enough. I'll just digress a little bit here. I've never told this story without crying, and recently I had some new medication. I'm on a different anti-anxiety medication, and I'm finding it somewhat hilariously hard to cry.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm crying internally, and
Yep.
it just won't come out, and it's actually becoming something that builds up over. I can't predict it. I talk about it with my partner Emma quite a lot. Why aren't I crying? And then I've lost multiple people in my life in the last even 6 months, and it's just not happening. And then all of a sudden, I completely fall to pieces. It's becoming less easy to predict when the tears are going to come, but embracing them, that's for sure. But yeah, I do have those thoughts, but as I've probably gone past 28. It went from, and that really was a thing at 28. It was, how do I put it? It was the things that I'm talking about probably happened in their absolute peak prior to being 28. And when I started this burner account, that's what it was. It began as a piss take. Just I'm going to make fun of me, all the things that I'm doing because I don't feel like I don't know who I am in the world, to be honest. And I just didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what my identity was, and I'll just keep trying things and keep going back for more. And I keep, my interpretation was failure. Where I look at it now, it's been a hell of an experience, and every one of them I might change a couple of details of things along the way. Yeah. But the situations that I'd find myself in, and it was this way that it was like doing everything except going to a psychologist, like starting a page, and I was just outletting it all there. And if you were reading it, you probably thought he's making fun of a stereotype. And I even said it. It was a big smokescreen. I'm making fun of myself for the most part, and then came other things. But it served as this very public diary that was very reflective of how I was going at any given time. And I think I've had a journey that's stretches back to 8 years old with my mental health, and it's difficult to sort of condense and break down into a clear, concise story. But I really struggled. I just never felt like I had a total place in society where I felt, and at various I didn't understand my brain either. I don't learn the way that other people learn. I can't sit still and listen for hours at a time and go, all right, now we're on to the next subject of 6, and you got to come back on Monday and have done 3 hours of homework for each of those things. I just didn't do it, but I love learning. I still do. Yeah. I just had to, I guess I chose, not had to, I chose to just teach myself along the way. I reckon I did 3 years of schooling total after about grade 6. Yeah. And prior to that, I'm not sure if it counts, I went to a Steiner school. Okay. So, and this is, saying this, we just had a laugh, and I look off to my right, and our producer here is my cousin Harry, who's not sure how much younger you are, Haz, but I don't know that Harry would know any of this himself. So it's all very there's still this, as we go back to the wheel, it is overwhelming, and I'm still trying to get it right in how it comes out. But as I was sort of getting at before, I don't think I ever wanted I'll just use the word. I don't think I ever wanted to die. This is what I've come to terms with late in life. I just wanted the feelings to go away. I didn't know what they were though. And this is why I really resonate with what you do and how you speak about it and the tools that you do. Because I didn't know. I knew angry. Was it Brene Brown you were speaking about before?
Yeah.
Spot on. I knew anger. I knew this feeling. I'd repeat this line to myself in my head when I felt like I'm at my wit's end, which was often through my teens and into my early adult years. Is this ever going to feel any different? Is it ever going to stop? But I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know what it is. So how do I stop it? How do I know what it is to stop it? And I still don't have the answer to that question, but it feels like it's not, as you said, the magic bullet. I'm not ripping a Band-Aid off and there it is, it's stopping. But it's starting to curve in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope that answers your question
Well,
somewhat.
it does. And
feel free
mate,
to delve any
thanks
further.
so much for, speaking about it in such a public way. Like, it's hard to do to your partner. It's hard to do to a therapist if you've got one. It's hard to journal about, let alone do it on air. So I really appreciate that. I have a question. Like,
Absolutely.
when you're at your darkest times, what are some of the typical thoughts that were going through your head? Are you okay to share some of those thoughts?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It might take me a couple of mumbles and bumbles to get there.
If that's cool, I'm happy. Because I want to. It's a bit of research on my part, and I want to see how it relates to some of the people that I've spoken to about suicide ideation and suicide attempts, and see if it matches up, and see if we can have a conversation based on that.
Absolutely.
Is that cool?
Yeah. I think even some of the feelings I had, they don't fly in the face of maybe they do with my own understanding prior to them happening of depression and what suicidal thoughts would be like. But I actually felt, for the most part, just wired, like up and overwhelmed. Wired's not the word. Just completely at my wit's end and feeling like I'm in a loop that I'm not able to break. A pattern of thoughts that was just going around in a circle.
Yep.
And that was overwhelming me so much that I can't snap out of this.
Yep.
And geez, what were those feelings? I really want to actually take myself back there for a second. Frustration, I think, with both myself and, the world. There was a lot of that. There's, why aren't I like everyone else? Why can't, it's easy for, I won't say you, Harry, but anyone else, just as an imaginary person over there. Why can they just seemingly do everything that everyone else does with ease, and I've got to be different in every scenario, or struggle with this or that? Why can't I just feel comfortable when I walk into a room and not feel like absolutely every set of eyes is staring, and not in a good way? Just it's what's wrong with him sort of thing. I'll look at that, and I even do it now, and you'll pick up on it. I'm happy to. Anyone listening or watching, you can see it and you can hear it in my voice. I will worry about how I'm sitting. I'll worry about how my words are coming out, and I'll start doing the Joe Biden.
Don't die on me now.
Because what I'm doing is I'm saying 5 different sentences, and I still haven't decided which one is the one that, and not the best one to get out. It's the one, I think this pattern is the one that will be approved by the world.
Wow.
Which is a cycle that I would love to get rid of. And we do, obviously our other podcast is very much just sitting in a group of with your mates and having a laugh. It still rears itself there. And then the pattern is I'll have 700 beers to go and deal with that.
Yeah.
And at various stages, yes, actually we never acknowledged the camera, but yes, I did cocaine. Wow. Yes. Shock. Odd Perry.
What?
Oh my goodness gracious me. I joked about it enough to have to just rip the Band-Aid off there, but that was one of the many strategies I would use to think that it's going to make me feel more comfortable in social scenarios, which is where it rears its head for me most. But just absolutely, and continues because it pops up here and there. It never makes me feel better. Yeah, doing that stuff and write myself off, but I still, again, haven't worked it out completely and fall back into it. But yeah, it's that was absolutely the overwhelming feelings that I had were of overwhelm, frustration, probably a bit of embarrassment, humiliation's a big one for me. I talk about with my my psychologist a lot. I don't know if it was as prevalent in those moments, or maybe it was feeling like you've failed.
Yeah.
The world perceives you a certain way. And I have certain things that I do value about what I want to put out in the world, and they're like, it's hard to find them when you're taking the piss 24/7 publicly, but when they're sort of, when I feel like, okay, well, they don't think that about me anymore, the broader world, that's a shame, and what have I done? And that's the sort of cycle that can fall into that overwhelm, and is this ever going to be any different? Is it all too far gone now, if that makes sense?
Was it exhausting?
Bloody oath.
Yep.
Still is. I still have them but on a much smaller level. I'll just not qualify. I've got that word stuck in my head now. I'll clarify. I don't have self-harm thoughts.
Yep.
I have those insecure thoughts. That's what they are.
Yeah.
I think it's a, that feeling of, am I going to embarrass myself here? There's so many eyes now on me, which is the great irony of how my brain works. That's what I want the least in the world.
Yeah, you fucked yourself, haven't you? You dickhead. Why'd you get the mask on?
Like, oh, bloody hell. There was actually a moment the other night. I was just having a bit of fun with the election and chased the melt. Whichever way it went, I was going straight for the comments of the quote-unquote losing team.
Yep.
But there were some great ones. So I was looking for people who are going down conspiracy alley were the ones I like the most.
Nice.
But it's all rigged and all that sort of stuff. But I went on the stories, and I don't do this. I'm not a put the phone up. Hey guys, look at my morning routine, and that's not me at all. But I didn't realise till afterwards that I had a big bloody peppercorn in my tooth. It was gold.
Almost planted.
Yeah. I'm a rough head at the best of times. And I had Harry, mate, it was a zoomed head. It was a very close-up sort of situation. And this political page popped up. And it was it was an inbox. I don't think I've opened it yet. So if this bloke's listening, it was yours I saw first. It said, you got shit in your teeth, mate. And then I've gone on Facebook, which I still love the Facebook of that.
Yeah, that's the Wild West out there.
It's gold. It's the real rusted on people from the very beginning. And it is the Wild West. But this other page puts up, I just opened Facebook and I just see like a big close-up picture of my head. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. I think I've been cancelled or something or whatever. And it's just this funny sort of parody political page going, a big thank you to our mate, the 28-year-old male, who's caught nearly as many conspiracy nuffs as his teeth caught peppercorns. Just a zoom in on that thing. But I didn't have a moment of fear then. It's just weird where it shows up. I think I'm working it out live here, I think.
Yeah.
It really is when I think I'm trying to portray something that I'm not comfortable with that. It's just not me.
Yep.
And I'll walk away from that interaction with myself, I guess, in the broader world, going, well, fucking hell. What was that? That's not me. Or that was me, but they don't know why that's what the context behind that is, which is, I guess, part of why I wanted to go down this path with the podcast and speak to people like yourself is, without that context, you just, another thing that people scroll on and either, sometimes with tongue in cheek, I am winding people up.
Yeah.
But there is, without the context of where it's all coming from and I guess laying myself bare to a degree, I don't think it's actually a worthy thing to be doing or spending my time on. It's, it's been, I want it. I guess I'm just ranting on here, mate. I apologise.
You're all right. I'm loving it.
I'd like it to be, and I always sort of have wanted it to be, a Trojan horse to feel better about what you're seeing when you're on your phone. That's how do I put it? How it was for me is I would open my phone and I would be battered with shit that made me feel terrible. Mm-hmm. And I was already feeling terrible.
Yep.
As we spoke about this, that 10 years of probably feeling shit and multiple periods where I'm going, I'm not even sure I want to continue doing this. It's never going to stop. And every time I open my fucking phone and we were opening them more and more and more, I just felt shitter and shitter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our friends at the Herald Sun were front and centre at one point there. But it wasn't, limited to them. It was every single media organisation. This like in my head, I call it the machine. It's we put in something that's going to generate engagement. Mm-hmm. Engagement is a metric that the advertisers use to sell space and media organisations. So they have to do this stuff. And we know that anger and rage are the best engagers of people you can possibly do. If you can tap into that feeling, then you're going to see 1,000 comments, not 30. And that is there's a monetary figure on that. There's a difference to people's bottom line, and that's this trade-off that I think I was really becoming unhappy with myself. I'm not trying to sound preachy or anything, but it was just this is a mirror as to how I was feeling. It was going on, and a lot of the time just looking for things that made me feel better or gave me the tools like you're doing, and I wasn't finding them. I was finding Nadia Bartel is going to crack down on crime in Brighton, and she didn't. But that cycle is what I was sort of caught up in, and doing this burner on the side, and I just started sort of taking the piss out of that. But that's what the evolution of this thing is. Like, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be something that you open your phone and you go, all right, whoever. I'm not going to give that particular organisation a bit of a break here. They're not all bad.
Yep.
You might scroll past that. Clickbait item 2.
Yep.
Someone getting cancelled 3. Someone's dirty laundry. All things that make you leave it going, oh, fuck, I don't feel great. Or I'm angry about that, like me with Caden Corns at the moment.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I don't really mean any of it. But I want them to get down to our part of the scroll. I say our because there's more people involved in it, not just the people in here that do the podcast and now contribute to what's going on, but this I consider the people following that page as just part of it.
Well, you say in your unmasking video, you mention the word community a lot and the followers a lot. And if your intention, which I think is great because they're the ones that have kept you going for however many years before the mask was taken off, right? And if your intention is, which I think it is because of what you said now and before on air, is that this page is now not, or this, you are not just going to be a meme page or a meme person. You want to use this now for good as well. And if the start of that is the way you've just tried to speak about your suicide ideation, the medication that you've done, the psychology that you've seen, psychologists that you've seen, and some of the emotions and your thoughts, then it's a fucking good start, mate. And
appreciate it.
I think that as much as all of the 28-year-old male fans have followed you in the past for the drinking, drug, sport, satire, taking the piss content, I think we will, me included, will get equally as much value about the mental health stuff if you go down that route and keep going down that route. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. Your problems are yours. My problems are mine. Harry's problems are his. But they're all problems, and that's actually kind of what unites us.
Absolutely.
Let's speak about the shit rather than pretend that the shit's not happening.
Absolutely.
And you can do that.
I really appreciate it.
And you're doing it. So thanks for starting.
You nearly got me there. See, I can't predict when the crying's going to happen. It might happen. I really do appreciate that. And the followers, again, I haven't been able to speak at length because we do just sort of sit in taking the piss mode a lot. And even when we're not taking the piss, we're just always through a lens of like, we just had a laugh then. You can do both is what I'd
100%.
like to just reiterate. I do see a lot of people go, and I've maybe it's a reflection of how I'm going at any given time, but when someone flips into, they're going to tell me how I'm going again. Oh, they've just gone into mental health mode now. Yeah. No, I'm out. That's I don't want it to be that. I want it to be a balance of everything that I guess, it's everything that kind of makes me happy. And I know that from having this thing for nearly 10 years, there's a fair audience that it makes them happy too. I guess anecdotally looking at the balance between taking the piss, talking about things that need to be, even on the weekend, just not talking about politics, but just talking about even some of the influence that it's had over how politics have changed, some of the policies that are coming in. We can talk about that and flip back into to this mode and not hate each other or leave being angry and shitty. And the inbox is an interesting place over the last year, especially, and since that video. I kind of did a soft sort of posting of it. I didn't push it hard because I don't think I was as comfortable as I wanted to be, thinking about it for 8 years leading into doing that or whatever it was. I was still unsure whether I'm still kind of doing this on the universe's timeline, not how I wanted it to be in my head, which is almost never the case anyway. But since that, I've had so many. I'm not just saying this, men and women, which is the great misconception, is that it's all men on this page, and it's a Trojan horse. There are just as many women on that page, and so many people have reached out and shared with me that listening to that and actually talking about this has helped them. There was a couple last year that just really blew me away. Just people that had had similar experiences to myself for very different reasons, and hearing myself, and even Travis has been quite open with his own struggles on some of the podcasts we've done together, and some other guests we had. Mark Wales is pretty powerful too, and it's been the thing that's got them over the edge to go and seek help and do something about it. They've booked their own appointment with a psychologist for the first time, and those people are my friends. I see them as my friends now, and a lot of them I don't even know them, but I do. We have this friendship that exists through the internet. It is just built on this common, maybe it's not one thing. This common frustration, common experience that's been good, common experience that's been bad, and looking at the world through a particular lens, but never really talking about it in a place where thinking maybe I'm the only one seeing the world through that lens.
Yeah.
And maybe not taking everything so bloody seriously, which I think is very, very important.
Yeah. That's how these conversations can go. Like I try and give a formula to get them started, and I try and give people a formula to listen. But once you're in there, like, they can go anywhere you want, and that's the beauty about having them, is that they're our conversations. We get to own them and take them on board. So I want to just loop back to how you awesomely shared about your suicidal thoughts, and just I asked for that info because I wanted to compare it to some other ways people had spoken about their situations. Okay. And it seemed like when they were talking about it.
Oops, sorry, I'm just
those rags.
I've got some hidden shirts down here. I was like, what is that? My apologies.
And the suicidal thoughts can come from a range of different reasons, whether it's physical, mental, it could be a relationship, could be monetary, whatever. Let's not worry about why they're happening. But did you find that the thoughts were coming into your mind and they were sort of sneaking around your mind, which then led you to sort of sneak around friends and family in regards to maybe towards your suicide plans? Was that how it could be described to someone that might be going through it, or someone that is trying to get their head around this?
I think there was various stages and occasions, because I talk about the build up and to the overwhelm, and that overwhelm is another word I guess I'm using to soften those thoughts. It was suicidal ideations, a period of time where I was feeling like, oh no, that's creeping in. For me, it was more of a build up to a state of, Jesus, I don't think I can do this. I've probably been, how do I put it? I've been more open than I thought I'd be along the way. I have been able to talk about it, but I've been able to talk about it through a very unstructured sort of lens, and I still would be, sheltering some thoughts, the true thoughts going through my head, and even when they would burst out, and if I was saying things, it was more of a burst like that, and like an explosion of just get out of me. In terms of planning, that wasn't something that until probably, I think, around that 28 sort of mark, that I didn't really think about it ahead of time. It just kept creeping up, not creeping up, it just would, the feeling of just not being well. And for me, that was feeling like that's, when you're on a roller coaster, or the giant drop is a good example.
Yeah, okay.
You go on a giant drop and get to the top,
and
you're waiting there for it to drop. That feeling of your stomach is in your mouth.
Yeah.
For me, that's something that before doing therapy and being medicated even, I just tried to pull myself up, but not as if I hadn't already told you that I am medicated, and I see that's my brain going, no, got it. But that feeling of, my stomach's in my throat was all the time. Like there's nothing I could do to get out of it. That's why I talk about ice baths and saunas, and I do it again through a piss-takey lens. But if you're following close enough, I am actually linking it to feeling shit house. Get in the thing, because that is absolutely, this is not a joke. That is something that I actually do. Yeah. That I talk about the vagus nerve and its responsibility for those sorts of feelings. That's the only reset I know that works. I know many of the theories from other things, but cold water and intense heat back and forth, but particularly cold water.
Let's tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, baby.
Yeah. It's the only thing that I've been able to find that can actually just, in that moment, strip it back. But I didn't know that until, after all these events we're talking about. So there's things I do now, I think I was saying this earlier, there's just things that I do now that I haven't maybe realised I'm intentionally doing to manage myself. It just may look like I've just got an ice bath, it's got a sauna or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing that because I get to the end of days and sometimes the start of days and just feel like I'm sitting on the fucking giant drop and I can't focus. I can't take a phone call. I've screened phone calls. I'm absolutely – it's funny now that everything's out in the open. They know I'm on my phone, whoever's calling me. I'm just not answering it. And they think I'm rude. But if they knew what was actually going on internally, I have talk about with my partner a lot. I have a battery that's really small socially, and if I tap it out, then I go into a shit way of feeling. But sorry, back to your question earlier in life, I don't know that I wasn't sneaking planning around. I was probably sneaking what I was truly feeling around.
Okay.
I would externalise things that maybe weren't the full picture with my family, and certainly not. Like I don't think I was great with sharing with my friends. I put on very much a bravado that turned into. It's just had a little penny drop moment. That's exactly what I've done on the page. That turned into intense self-deprecation. So I'll get you before you can get me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's the pattern that I go into externally. If I'm really taking the piss out of myself, then I'm trying to deflect from something, and there's something going on. It's funnily enough, it seems like I'm pretty good at taking the piss out of myself. So, it's maybe a slightly
it's a career
so it's a double-edged sword, but that's where it's come from, I think. Which is, I don't want to lose the ability to do that. I quite enjoy doing it, but depending on where it's coming from at any given moment, that's what I was talking about earlier with that mirror. If it's dark, then I'm feeling dark. If I'm going after, even like a couple of weeks ago, I jokingly talk about cane, and I don't have a problem with cane corns. It's all tongue in cheek and all that sort of stuff. But a couple of weeks ago, something that has absolutely nothing to do with me. This is the pattern. There's many of them. That was the one that I decided to go and really just push to the ends of parody, not parody, satires, whatever. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's me feeling shit in my own body. Going, I'll find someone who's being an asshole to someone else, and I'll get you.
Yep.
Don't you fucking think you can say that or do that and just go about your day with a grin on your face.
What did you say before? Bully the bully.
Yes, there's absolutely that. And I think that's been with me from a very, very early age. With some experiences that just never let it go. I don't want it to go, to be honest. I think it shaped a lot of my values, and I think they're good values. But it's putting some sort of scaffolding around that. So because it can, when I'm not going so well, just spiral into what the hell was that? And periods of time where it's just all right. You can have a go back and advocate for someone without really taking it to the edges of the earth.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's honestly a direct mirror of how I'm going at any given time.
It's interesting, really interesting. And cool, because now I'm going to forensically study everything that comes out. He's in a good mood, I'll call him.
Some of these followers, but they're hilarious. Like there's some, they know. Without me ever saying it, they know. They'll, and that melt line I've been using lately, There's an old thing that my mates and I used to wind each other up with, and it really was probably a bit more sinister than I use it now. It's now just this funny old circuit breaker where, two people are just going heated at each other. Like, over the weekend, I copped some serious abuse, which I put in the stories, and blocked their names out. It's the end of those conversations, which sometimes I post them as well. I'll generally just laugh back and go, sorry, did I get you? And, you know, I don't mean this, right? Or if I've shared an opinion someone doesn't like, and that because they're having their moment. Yeah. Like they're misreading the play of, oh no, this guy's on the weekend, it was politics, we just had the election. If you line 100 people up who follow the page and ask them all, is he a lefty or a righty? It will be split down the middle. Yeah. You go on any given day.
Always keep them guessing. Never let them know your next move.
That's right. I'm a right-wing lunatic, or I'm a left-wing softy snowflake cuck and whatever the hell I am. And it's all, that does amuse me. But I just try not to, I don't like these words like cancel and all that, the stuff that's just sort of infiltrated our language that doesn't really serve much purpose, but just write people off for a bad moment, I guess. Yep. Which is what I've tried to do with that. I've had plenty of them and continue.
And you'll have plenty more.
And they pull me up, is the point.
Yeah.
They find me in the comments and go, melt. Vedran did it on air the other week.
Oh, that's great.
I'm going, he goes, you've had a big week, and you just, I should say it just very, very tongue-in-cheek. And I go, no. Cornsey. I've just gone into a 30-second little
rant
explanation, and he's just going, that's a fair melt, mate. I was just on my phone for that, for most of it. Going, all right, you got me. And it's like this reset of, fair enough.
Yep.
Of move on.
Yeah.
It's been it's a funny little dynamic. But for me, like, I think the video you were talking about where I sort of took the mask off, I spoke to this a little bit, that those followers have helped me in ways that I said then they may never understand, but I hope they do over time, and having more of these conversations. There were many, many moments where I'm feeling very low, and they have been the people that have been there for me without realising it. They've been brilliant. I'll reel them off over time, but I know their names. I know now it's turned into genuine friendships with the people that are in that. I keep saying follow, but I don't want to. It's not that. It is that word community again. It does feel like one giant group message of people that kind of get it, this unspoken thing. I'm still trying to articulate myself what that unspoken thing is, but I think we're all on the same page, and we're all trying to work it out together, which is a nice thing that I found, at least in those times where I've struggled. It's hard to, if you lose that sense of community or belonging to something of friends, family, safe home, employment. If any of those things fall over, particularly that community one, I guess for me, is that they'll just fall to pieces. So I hope that some people in there see that as their community, because that's absolutely the way that I look at it. And it's probably the metric I judge how that thing's going or not going. Podcast numbers and likes, I could not give a fuck about any of this stuff. Yeah. If what's coming through anecdotally in feedback from people who follow the thing is saying the stuff we were speaking about before, I listened to that and it made me laugh. Or that was really, even over the weekend, that made me really laugh, whatever it is, seeing shit in your teeth or, or winding this up or that. So you getting wound up by something. If the feedback is, I'm feeling, the underpinning thing is I'm feeling better as a result of seeing that, then that's the metric I judge it by, not any sort of Facebook insights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got obviously a gift in making people laugh. And that's what's kept people coming around and coming back. But now you've got this other insight when you have opened up about your mental health and mental illness. It's like there are people out there that have laughed at me and with me, and now they can feel more than that. And I'm hoping that's exactly where you're wanting to take this. So it's a great thing. It's not that now you've got to go and find another 200,000 Instagram followers that are into mental health, because your current ones, maybe they already are.
I think
maybe they can learn about it on the same time as well, if they aren't.
Absolutely. I sound like I'm wrapping up. Believe me, I'm not. Okay. I was just about to go into, as you were speaking, like, geez, I hope I don't forget to ask you how to get in touch and talk about some of the work that you do in community, because I'd love to connect our audience with you and the work that you are doing. Are you able to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, of course. You can easily, the first and fastest way to get on to me is to go on Instagram. The handle is it's cool_to cry. And if you're not sick of my voice, go and listen to some of those videos. I do a similar thing to you on a Tuesday. I do this segment called Troll Tuesday, and I go through all the comments on the Wild West, which is Facebook and Instagram. Yep. And there's some unhinged stuff. You would have seen it all, but this one's about is suicide selfish? Is it the coward's way out? Yeah. Am I the fuckwit because I'm making money off it? So it's all these ways where we can take things that early days really, really rattled me, and I didn't think I'd be able to cope with it, but I turned it into a way to have fun and learn from it. So those are the types of ways, types of things you'll see. There's tips and tricks, tools. Obviously, we're going to talk about some serious things, but trying to do it in a lighthearted manner where the aim of the game here is to simplify mental health conversations. And back to what did you say at the start? You said a feeling of relief when you have these conversations. I use the word clarity because that's the aim of the game. Relief, clarity, monkey off your back, weight off your shoulders. That's the feeling that we're aiming for. And I'm trying to get people to do that via conversations, but it's all well and good to say, have the conversation, but people don't know why or don't know how or don't know when. So that's my job, is to try and get people to a stage where that they can speak about it. If they're not ready just to sit down with a mate and blurt it out, what do they need to get them to the level to start? And all of that revolves around confidence, and it's easier than you think. It's confidence that it's already been mentioned. Confidence that we're already going through something or we've been through something. So let's stop pretending that we haven't and own our shit. And once we have this level of confidence that we're like, okay, I know Jim's gone through something, I know Harry's gone through something. My problem's a bit different, but maybe they've felt the same way.
Yeah. Think
about it like that, and we get this confidence up and get ready to have these conversations. And there are a big question I get is, how do I know when to start having these conversations? And I'll give you a really easy tool to use called the timeline tool.
Great.
Timeline tool. So you get a thought that pops in your head or a situation that's unsettled you, could be good, bad, or ugly. I would typically sleep on it and give it 24 hours. And we're going to use a check-in at 24 hours, 48 hours, and at 7 days. So after you've slept on it and given it 24 hours, you ask yourself, can I live with this situation bouncing around in my head any longer? Yes or no? If it's a no, then I would start to go and tease this problem out. And my first port of call is talking to someone. If you don't have someone to talk to, I'll give you a tip on that at the end in a sec. But if you've got someone to talk to, I'd be like, hey, Jim, can you listen to me for a sec? That's the easiest way to start. Yep. Then if you're at this 24-hour checkpoint, you're like, oh, you know what? I just need a little bit more time to think about it, tease it out myself. You give it another 24 hours. So you're at this 48-hour checkpoint. It's the same question. Can I live with this in my head for another period of time? Yes or no? If it's a no, okay, who is that person or who are those people you go and speak to try and tease this out vocally and get it to a thought where the thoughts are evolving or evaporating. If you can live with it for another period of time, I'd give it 5 days. Yep. So you've got your 7-day check-in, you've got your 24-hour check-in, 48-hour check-in, and 7-day check-in. Now the trick here is don't cheat and keep adding on check-ins. We've all done it.
Yep.
I did it for fucking years, but I was hoping something would change. Oh, this will change if I have a new job. Yep. Or this will change if I have a new partner. Or this will change if I start doing X.
Oh, this is made
This will change if I start doing gym this time or that time. But nothing fucking changed because the actions were all incorrect.
Yep.
The action has to start at the very latest at checkpoint number 3, which is 7 days. And that was where I'd be like, get this fucking feels wheel out. Yep. What is going through your head? And if you don't have someone to talk to right now, then this is the trick to do it. You've got to think of 3 people that right now you would love to go to or could trust with these types of conversations. Think about this list as a rotating and growing list, because the reality is sometimes some people on that list will not be ready for these types of conversations.
Yes.
And they might not be able to give you what you want because they might hijack the conversation and make it about themselves. They might dismiss it and think that your feelings and situation isn't valid, or they just might not give a fuck because they don't want to talk about mental health. And look, that is totally fine. So get ready for, maybe disappointed is the wrong word, but get ready to be either surprised or disappointed, something like that, where you've got to go and hunt down another person now because your top one's just dropped off your list.
Yep.
Because the second one might be on a plane and the third one might be going through their own thing. So have these lists of people that you can go to and be very wary that it might not be in your best group of mates. It might not be in your family, because these people might not be able to meet your needs. So it's up to us to go and find out and figure out who can meet our needs.
It's a bloody interesting one, isn't it? That scenario you just described of, it's just the penny, not a penny drop. It was just I've experienced that even recently. Last year, the mate of mine I talked about I have panic attacks semi-regularly. Still, I had one last year, and it wasn't his fault. It was just my expectation of what, not even my mind articulating how he should react to me. It was just the feeling in that moment of, hold on, you're not listening to me, or you're trying to move this on. You're hijacking. You make it about yourself. When really, I think, reflecting on it, he probably wasn't comfortable. Wasn't comfortable with it. And maybe he thought he was comfortable with it, and when it became very raw and real, not everyone can do what you do, and that's why you're where you are and doing what you do, because you spent a big part of your life understanding it at a level that not everyone does, or if that makes sense.
Well, I'm glad you've put it that way, because, and I just want to finish off this meeting the needs part. I've got a mate, one of my best mates, Jay, and unfortunately his brother died by suicide just over 12 months ago. So Jay and I we were tight anyway, and we would talk about Ellie's suicide and mental health and mental illness. Now we talk about Bo as well. We also talk about work. We talk about gym. We talk about relationships. We talk a little bit about politics. We talk about fucking almost everything except AFL football because he knows nothing about AFL football.
Yeah.
So why would I go to someone who knows nothing about AFL football to talk about AFL football? Put this lens on with our mental health. Like, why would I go to so-and-so if he knows nothing about mental health or doesn't give me back what I need about mental health? Think about that. So if that person isn't there for you right now, maybe they're not there. They will be there in future. But right now, just put a little grey lead line through it. Not a pen, just a grey lead line through it, because you might need that person or they might need you down the track.
That's a good way of looking at it.
It's about meeting needs. Not everyone is going to be able to meet our needs. So shop around, get that list ready and get it ready to rotate to find out who can do this for you.
I've not to digress too much, but I wrote Harry off, our producer over here, with the AFL stuff pretty early. He's got no idea what he's talking about. He just can't win a tip. His mic's not on today.
It's
so
the kiss of death, is
sucked
he?
in, Harry.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
And that's bullshit. I'm crushing you in tipping.
Anyway, that's for Wednesday.
And then back to how you finished that last part off. It was about where I was and how I'm able to do this. Well, this is about, all I do is listen, right? All I do is listen and maybe ask some questions based on what you've said. Now, anyone can do this. Anyone can do this, because this is the really important part of having mental health conversations, is that they're probably going to be one person talking and one person listening. Unless you've both agreed to have a conversation together, it's usually going to be someone saying, hey, Jim, I've got a bit of an issue right now. Can you listen? So that my role in that conversation is to be speaking, and your role is to be listening.
And you've been absolutely brilliant. Can I just say that? You've been brilliant. Not to blow smoke up your ass, but it's something I noticed very early on in this chat. And people will think we've spoken more than we have off air. We haven't. We're literally getting to know each other live. And that listening piece, I'm not used to it. Okay, I was just observing my own feelings as we're talking and you're speaking and I'm speaking, and just not getting interrupted. And, that's something that I'm very mindful of. And when I fuck up and jump in, even now, I feel like I'm interrupting you. Like, I'm not used to it. And it's almost, it can be, it's a relief and then it's nervy and, oh God, I really do have the floor here. I'm being paid attention to, which is, I think, part of that needs thing you were talking about before, what the expectations of others that I don't know what they are in the moment sometimes. My mate I was talking about before, but it was probably that, like you just want to be heard and listened to.
Bingo, heard. That's it. And we fuck up these conversations because we complicate them by thinking that as the listener we need to solve and we need to fix. And I come from a long line of fixers. Yeah. And I'm a recovering fixer. Are you a fixer?
I don't know if I'm recovering, but yes, I am a recovering fixer. I think we're all fixers in my family. They'll all be listening. I think they'll. There's a spectrum of fixer in our family, some more than others, and we're all doing our best. But yeah, definitely we're fixers, and it does come from that. Yes, in our case, well, actually, there's a family member over there. We're all the intentions are always there.
Yes.
And even when we talk about mates listening who just jump into, that's kind of what I was getting at before, they jump into, the interruptions can come from a good place. It's, oh, well, have you tried this? Or, the parody that I do all the time, have you tried ice bathing?
Yeah. All right, I'm out.
Yeah, oh, fuck's
Fucking
sake.
cut this.
Just listen to what I'm saying. And I know what a fucking ice bath is, mate. It's just, actually just sitting back, and I think you said it earlier, your role is to listen. It absolutely is as that person on the receiving end, I think.
And that should make the conversations easier to have because it doesn't feel like there's a burden or a responsibility on the listener to go, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to make up an answer for this because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Don't do that.
Yes.
Don't do that. Just listen. And there's only two ways that this goes. Your mates come to you or your partners come to you or whoever it is has come to you. They've shown you a huge amount of trust and a huge amount of love. Just be sure that by being that listener, you've done a fucking heap just by being there and being able to sit there and have that person unload on you. Yep. That's enough. That's enough. You don't need to do anything beyond that. But the only two ways that these conversations should really, this is not a blanket rule, but the way I see that most of these conversations should be going is that if you're finished speaking, I can say, mate, thanks for sharing that with me. Do you want to keep speaking? And then you say yes or no. If it's a no or if it's a yes, sweet, you keep speaking. Then until you stop speaking, I would be going, all right, thanks again for sharing. That sounds X, Y, and Z. Do you want to keep speaking? No. You go, okay, cool. How can I best support you? And that's it. Take all the guesswork out of it. The call to action will be quicker because you'll go, actually, I just needed that for you to vent.
Yep.
Or actually, I need your help with this, this, and this.
That's the crucial moment. If I could interrupt for a second.
Can I get a fucking word in?
That moment there, don't forget this, James. Don't forget this, James. I just have so many memories of this exact moment of do listen, and I still get caught in it. You're almost, if I'm feeling anxious about the topic, it's like, oh, they're nearly done speaking. What am I going to say? And then you've actually stopped listening at all to the person who's speaking, and I'm just petrified about how I'm going to respond. And how do you ever feel that when you're in these scenarios? Like, oh shit, what am I going to say when this ends?
Yeah, 100%. But remember our default mode for these conversations should be care and love rather than pity and judgment.
Right.
So if that was the case, it would be, I don't know what to say right now. That sounds really tough. Thanks for sharing. That's a position of care or love. Whereas if we did something like, I'm really worried about you.
Yep.
I love you. I'm worried about you because I love you a lot. Like that just adds to the person feeling like they're a burden and it's going to cave that conversation really fucking quickly. So the care and love part is really important to remember that we don't have the words to say, that just remember that they're the default ones. And silence is fine. Silence is fine. It's their conversation. They've come to you. It's going to make everyone squirm. But that squirm is the the benefit to the squirm is so high. Yep. You mentioned relief, I say clarity. That squirm is worth it. And as the listener, you're going to have to fucking squirm. And you're going to have to squirm through the really tough stuff that they're going to tell you, and you're going to have to squirm through the silences.
I'm thinking about my parents as you're speaking. They're just it's some more memory. You asked a question earlier about some of those feelings when I was in those moments of ideation and things like that. A lot of the time I have a great relationship with my parents and all of my family, except Harry over there. Quite the opposite, actually. Very good. But some of the conversations I had with mum and dad at various stages where I'm absolutely gone, at my wit's end I've just tipped over the edge of it's frustration, it's intense. There's anger in there. There's definitely anger in there, but it's coming from a place of I just need a fucking answer on how I make this stop. What do I do? Is there anything I can do? And when they would be many times, and they're brilliant at it, but sitting in that moment of it's silence and he's done speaking for a second, and if what comes back, I'm the harshest judge when I'm in that state of what someone says back to me. And I still do this with my partner. When we have overwhelming conversations and it gets to that point of just frustration and all that sort of stuff, and I'm just the harshest judge of how I'm being responded to. I'm going, no, I don't want that. I want an answer. Like, no, what are you telling me this for? Or it's just not right. And they don't know what's right.
Yeah.
I don't know what's right. So it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like this externalizing. I just want someone to help make this stop. And it's just, that's probably the best description of those moments where, and that's right before I think it tips over to this other place that we've spoken about, is that, like start there, look up at the sky going, come on, fucking help me. What's going on here? Like, why won't this stop? I have so many answers to so many things. Why don't I have this one? I just don't know how to make this stop. And hey, Mum, can you listen to me for a bit? And all I want to do is help and give you some exactly what you're looking for. And just for the record, almost always the right advice, but nice. I'm not taking it. In that state, I'm just not ready to take it. Because that's not what I'm hearing. That would be fine if it's someone else in any other scenario. I'm looking for reasons for it to be wrong. Because I've just spiraled into another place.
Your own devil's advocate.
Yes. It's it's almost testing. Go on, throw a solution at me and I'll give you a reason why that's bullshit. And it won't work for me. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Is that self-sabotage? Yeah. Never really looked at it like that. Probably is. I think I've called it other things, but probably been too wound up to give it a label, to be fair at the time. There's absolutely that pattern. I think that it's almost like I don't want to give the misconception of I've had those experiences of reaching the edge we've spoken about, and then I just don't feel anything that remotely reflects what that was ever, until the next one or the next one. Nah, it's all this. They're just amplified, hugely amplified versions of emotions I have every day.
Yeah,
they're just not good ones. Yeah. And those feelings of frustration. Everyone feels frustrated every day, I'd imagine, and different things. You don't go a day without feeling frustrated by something. I might kick the floor and just go, fuck, what the fuck? That hurt. That's frustration. Oh, sorry. But there's a sliding scale of that. And in those moments, it's when I've just completely lost control of that sort of emotion, that frustration, that, here we go, I'll use the wheel while I'm here. I don't think it starts with sadness for me.
Yep.
I think sadness follows.
Cool.
I think that happens a couple of days later with it. It's post, as we spoke about before.
Yeah.
I think it starts with fear or anger with me.
Can I ask a question about anger? How does because one of my favourite emotions now is rage, because not that I can control it, but that was the one that would control me.
Yep.
Can I ask what anger or feels like for you in your body?
Good question. It's confusing. That's why I said a couple of different things there. Yeah. Because I'm going, is it actually anger? Or is it just an amplified version of, look at this wheel here, anxious or fearful? You know, it's almost like when I'm, you know, what's my dog's name's Dennis, Golden Retriever, and I hear he's the gentlest dog in the world. I hear him barking ferociously at something outside, you know, possum.
Yeah.
Oh, what's he so angry? He's not angry. He's scared. What was that noise? Yeah, so it's a little bit similar, that feeling within me. Maybe it's, you know, it can be coming from a place of fear. You know, what, is this going to get worse? Have I let it get beyond what I can pull it back from? I'm scared. What do I do here? And I'm frustrated. And it turns into I'm frustrated. Why can't anyone tell me what to do here? This is probably the pattern for me.
Yeah,
Or
cool.
I can't find the answer. Why can't you tell me?
Yep.
Jack, tell me what to do. Okay, you tell me. Well, that's not going to work. Don't give me your wheel while I'm like that. No, that's the state of mind.
Yeah.
Like I'm not accepting things that are absolutely helpful.
Yeah, I wonder what that level is. It's like you're just so heightened that it can't be brought down to a logical state of mind or whatever.
It's interesting. The only thing that works in that state, short of an ice bath, so just try to joke it off. Short of an ice bath is that metacognition piece. It's to fly a helicopter over my own feelings,
Great.
try to remove myself from the person feeling it almost, and just observe what's going on, like we're doing right now. Like I'm not in that state. I'm just trying to unpack. This is great. We're unpacking it. We're talking about what it is and using words that maybe I don't have in the moment. But the anger for me, the difference between anger, just in terms of, I think of moments where I've been genuinely angry and you've been in a dust up or on a footy field or whatever it is when you have to summon anger or just hits you and you've got anger. It's very close to fear, but anger it feels different to I think what I'm describing. I think it does come from a fearful place. Can I pull this back, I guess?
Yeah.
Make sense?
So good. I like this helicopter thing that you said is great because it's a reminder that we aren't our emotions. We can't really control how we're going to feel to the situation, but to try and distance ourselves from the reaction or the heightened parts of them, the intensity of them, that helicopter thing's great. It's like, what is actually going on here for Jack? What is actually going on here for Jim? It's a really awesome tool to use. And then you mentioned numerous emotions at the same time, and that's the reality. We don't have to pigeonhole one. I know I mentioned at the start about getting accurate with our emotions. That is still true, but we can feel multiple emotions for the same event. So what's an easy one? Getting a new job, and that would be, say, bittersweet. Like you might be grieving the people that you used to work with, or the coffee shop, or the route to work because it was short, whatever. And then the new job, that's exciting and maybe a bit fearful as well. Like there's all these things that could make up.
Great analogy.
Yeah,
it's the most recent I've had, I reckon. Just grieving an old job and
there you go.
and sort of being excited about a new this what we're doing, and at the same time being like, oh man.
Yeah.
I love that career.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm doing something, I've got to say bye to it, and at the same time feel excited about it. It's exhausting, to borrow a phrase earlier. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
But excited at the same time.
I think, can I do one more just about on the listener's responsibility? If like today, you came to me and you've poured your heart out, you've been fucking amazing with what you've shared, really raw, really real. And I just then butted in and said, oh, you should do this, this, and this. We don't know each other. We don't know each other. We've sat down for an hour and a half and spoken to you. And if I just said, hey, you should try this, this, and this, I've taken an hour and a half's worth of our lives and I've summarized into 3 helpful dot points. That's not good. That's not the way we should be helping our mates.
Yep.
We help our mates by asking, what can I do for you? And then you'll be able to tell me. And then we make the plan together. How can I best support you is the best question and should be the first question to ask if you want to try and help your mate.
Well said. It's just floored me.
Yeah.
Well said. Sometimes you just got to tip the cap.
Well, look, I love this. I froth this. And if it wasn't for Ellie, maybe I wouldn't be in this seat. And part of this is because of Ellie and Matt and Bo I've mentioned, and a few others that have died by suicide along the way. It would be really unfair. I feel like unfair if I didn't try and do something for them. And whether or not anything I've said would ever have helped them, we don't know. We'll never know. But there might be people out there that can just get a tool or two or three to either A, start the conversations, and that's what they're doing for their mental health, or have better and more meaningful conversations because they're already having them, and make those relationships around them better, make the relationships to themselves better.
Absolutely.
And that's my mission. Like, I'm really pointy on what I'm trying to do, and I only talk about talking. I don't talk about diet, sleep, exercise, your favourite ice baths.
Yeah.
I
Do you
know.
want to talk about them?
No, mate, I'm busy.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, mate, I'm going in through a tunnel. Like, I just want to make sure that, if people need help starting and listening to conversations, like, there's some really good tools that we've spoken about, and that they can just start practicing these conversations. This isn't about perfection. Our conversation hasn't been perfect. It never will be. So just start the conversations as practice, and don't let perfection be a barrier, because that's a really shit excuse for not starting the conversation.
It's another episode we'll have to get you back on with me. on that, I would love you to come back in as often as you like, and maybe if I'm hijacking here, we have absolutely not spoken about this, but I'd love open door, mate. I think what you're doing is wonderful. It's brilliant. You're a great guy. It's really coming from a genuine place, and you've had some horrible experiences, but what you've managed to do with that is, I'm quite in awe of you, to be honest. So I think I'm very lucky to be sitting down with you, and whether it was the universe or anything else, very lucky to have you here, and our audience are very lucky to be hearing from you. So thank you.
No, thanks, mate. Is this wrapping up?
I didn't think it was, but it sounded like a good wrap up. Like, where the hell do you go from there? What's that? Harry's trying to talk to me.
Oh, shirt. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Thanks.
if we
Thanks,
are
Harry.
wrapping.
Well, if I'm coming back on again, then I'm more than happy to wrap, and we can do other apps.
Well, for the people watching and for listening, I'll describe what we're seeing. You brought in some goodies.
I brought in a bit of merch.
Yeah, you knew that I only wear black and white T-shirts always.
I did a recce on you.
So, and you've come with options too. You got 2XL, 3XL.
Yep.
So I'm set here. I'm thinking Harry wants the other one.
Oh, okay, Harry can nick one, yeah.
Hit the gym, son. And then, no, of course. God, that sounded a bit bad, didn't it? Cut that out. But anyway, it's a great merch here. It's Cool to Cry. Jump on the website. Now, your website.
It's cooltocry.com.
Yep.
And if you're in Melbourne and you've been able to listen to all of this, there's an event that I've got coming up on the back of Men's Mental Health Week. Can I plug it?
Yes.
Great. June
Absolutely.
16th at the Abbotsford Convent in Collingwood, I'm putting on a men's mental health fundraiser.
Yep.
And this has been born out of an idea because I reckon there's a gap in the mental health fundraising in Australia. Like, we've got some amazing mental health fundraising and awareness campaigns. We've got Splash the Stigma, Push Up Challenge, Run the 10, we've got burpees, we've got walks, we've got chin-ups. They're all revolving around physical health activities. I think we can both agree that physical health is really important for our mental health. But where I see the gap is that we've got no mental health fundraisers delivering mental health solutions to solve the mental health problem. So we've got a 307-seat room at the Abbotsford Convent. We're trying to raise $100,007
Yep.
for men's mental health, men's prevention. Oh, whoa, fuck. All right, I've
So
gone this far without a tongue tie.
weird,
We've
isn't
done it. Men's Preventative Mental Health Organisation, Tomorrow Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be co-facilitated by me and their lead facilitator, Ryder, who's a fucking guru in this area. And we've got a panel of guests in Maddie Richardson,
Yep.
Harry Garside,
friend.
and Robbie Mills.
There you go.
And they're going to help model the conversation for the blokes in the room to say, this is what I've been through. This is how I've dealt with it. This is how I live with it. Similar to what we've been talking to now. And give guys the language, because you can't be what you can't see. Give the guys the language and the modeling and the experience of this is how you can talk about it. So if Harry can do it, oh, fuck, maybe I can do it. Millsy can do it. Maybe I've got a shot. And give the guys in the room the tools to talk about it on the night, and then the tools to take it to the water cooler, the cafe, the pub, the family function, whatever that is. So
Brilliant.
if you're in Melbourne, 16th of June in Collingwood, tickets are $50 and 7 cents, and you'll notice that I've mention the number 7 a lot, and there's a reason behind that. It's because 9 Aussies a day die by suicide. It's the biggest killer of Aussies, 15 to 44. It's double the road toll. 7 of those 9 are males. So 7 represents the blokes that we've lost, and 7 represents the blokes that we want to save. If you're a business person, a mental health advocate, a foundation, a philanthropist, I'd love to talk to you about coming on board as a sponsor. Like I said, we've got $100,007 to raise for Tomorrow Man. Your money's going to a good home, so please
Absolutely.
jump onto itscooltocry.com, hit the events page. All the information is there about that one, and we'd love to see you there.
Oh, Bob, you can rest assured I will be there if that helps.
Yeah,
I will
100%.
absolutely be getting behind that.
I'd love that.
That sounds fantastic. Harry Garside, what a great guy he
Mate,
is.
we've got those 3 are just going to be so good.
Yep.
So good.
Where was I going? Now, you said something, I just thought you would have noticed I was nodding my head off my body halfway through that.
I was just about to go like this.
Yeah.
Baby.
That was good practice. I'm listening.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. But I forgot to tell you something earlier. Just this on the long journey, there's plenty that we haven't spoken about, but a friend of mine, Matt's his name, but he's a rapper. His name's 360
Yeah.
is his musician name, and he's had a long journey himself with mental health. We're great mates going back 20 years. I went to school together and lived next door to each other for a long time, and we both had, it was just right around the really shit experience I had, and we sort of reconnected around the idea of, I'm waiting for you to grin here, we should do something, and yeah, that's a great idea, around mental health. And we weren't through it ourselves. We just did this thing that I now I'm wary of with myself, not to go and see a psychologist for 2 sessions and then behave like I am the all-seeing, all-knowing mental health expert. I'm through it now and you are not, so I'm going to have patronising conversations with you because I've been through it and you're
Yeah,
still there.
You wouldn't get it.
That's
Yeah,
just
you wouldn't
another,
get it.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
just another form of me going, not going to acknowledge past. I'm just uncomfortable after I've just aired it all. So I'm really wary of 2 things that I think you do really well. Not just airing a trauma and then leaving it. There's one, and the other one is physical things. This being said, our thing was called, I can't remember what it's called actually, but we did something, it was around 180, 360.
Yeah, great.
But it was all around engaging people in exercise and healthier lifestyles. It wasn't giving people practical tools, mental health tools. I didn't know them at that stage. This is before I got into social work and child protection and had this learning curve myself on the back of that stuff. So I just, did what a lot of us blokes do and women. We go, exercise will fix it. This is not to downplay any of the brilliant work these organisations are doing. I even, 5 years ago, rode the same distance from Melbourne to Perth because that was the idea I was going to do. And COVID happened. I did it in my house on a kicker thing. Raised $15,000 for was it Headspace? I think it might have been Headspace. Should know that. I've still done that stuff, but the second time around, there was the other stuff with it. We were actually having conversations and not leaving them. We were following up with people, and I was doing this. This is later in life, but that first iteration with Maddie and myself, we were just 2 people that were feeling shit and still feeling shit and going, we just want to do something about it, but all we know is what we know right now. And I feel better when I go to the gym, but what we never really unpacked, at least from my end, and Matty's still on a journey and he's doing really well. And my own journey was like, I never really understood why the gym made me feel better, but it was actually this community I had there.
Yeah.
As I found friends there that I felt like I was detached from my social group during that period of time, but I wasn't noticing that.
Yeah.
I just got a new job and worked at Doherty's gym, and all of a sudden there was this great new group of mates. I'd come back from the States and at college and came home to feeling very alone and all that sort of stuff in the world. And then I had these friends all of a sudden. Hey, the gym is the cure for mental health was what I ended on. Had a really bad breakup. Hey, the gym's there. And if I can just bench press 200 kilos and get a perfectly sculpted serratus, then you too can get grouse abs.
Grouse is
And then
good. I want grouse abs.
Your head will be good, yeah? That was like the student, not quite, but it's this thing like, okay, I haven't quite figured it out. So you look back on that and I think initially I felt embarrassed about it. Like, oh, God, what are you doing? You're just having a go. And I don't want to discourage anyone having a go. And if that's the place that they first have the conversation, which is what I think a lot of those organisations focus on, and find their way to something like what you're doing, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It's good to have both.
I'd love to talk to you about this loneliness one because I've been through it and it was fucking horrible. It was horrible. I wasn't alone, but I was lonely. And what you said about the gym and the connection there is so important. Just to, even by hanging out with people, you've done the weather, you've done the footy, you've done your sets, your chest looks amazing. And then just by continually organically having these conversations, it comes out, and this trust, because I've seen you a couple of times a week for however long, these deeper conversations then happen organically anyway. And that makes you feel fucking great.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's that, and I liken it to, I'll try to think of these common places where I've felt that same thing. Even working in child protection was my job for a long time before finding my way into football, and then whatever the hell this is that I'm doing on the internet. But we used to work with highly traumatized young children and teenagers and things. And the most part of the job, other than the biggest part of the job, let me start that sentence again. One of the biggest parts of the job was finding ways to have conversations, safe conversations with the young people, and allowing them to speak and feel safe in that conversation. And drives ended up being, they had a name, therapeutic drives, where we'd just go, we got to a point.
Cathartic.
That's great. We would go for long drives and things and just talk about it and get things off their chest, and you'd note it and all that sort of stuff and follow up. But when you go away and think about why was that so easy for the young person there, you're not looking at each other. You're both looking ahead. You think of a bench press. You're not really, unless sometimes you're looking up someone's shorts, unfortunately.
Looking at it.
You're at the gym and you're kind of doing something else at the same time. It's not as, like we're staring each other in the eye and there's cameras on. That's the most daunting version of it. But to layer it back to meeting people where they're at, maybe that's a part of why we do gravitate to make it feels easier, as you're saying, in those settings. But I'm still unpacking it. I think I just did that. Pretended like I've done this a million times and unpacked it. I'm just trying to think of, why is that? That sense of community and safety, I guess.
I don't know how true this is, but I'm going with it, because when we were on the savannah as cave men and cave women, if we were hunting, we were out hunting, and if we caught something, we would run back to the cave and celebrate. Or if we were escaping prey, something that was going to eat us, we would run back to the cave and celebrate. So it was this exercise first and then get back to the cave and celebrate. Like, I don't know, when you walk into the gym, you're like, everyone here's an asshole. Then when you walk out, like, hey, how's it going, everyone?
That's exactly what happens.
Just run back from run back to the cave, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know how true it is. I don't know if you've got any historians or on the channel or whatever, but let's fact fight. Let's see if that's a thing, because I love that one.
Yeah. Maybe the Neanderthals were into their aesthetics and what David Ziz was into at the time. But I really, bloody hell. That Doherty's one, I used to go in there and just as I walk through the door, I do not talk to me. I don't know eye contact with anyone. And it takes one person to crack me, and I'm into it. I'm there for anyone from Doherty's in that period of time would be going, shut up, we couldn't shut you up. And that's exactly how I ended up. So it would just take one person to crack me and you leave in a great place.
Great place. Yeah.
We just had a whole other podcast after wrapping up.
We've wrapped it up.
I don't know how to wrap up.
This is the extras or something. Yeah.
Well, we should wrap, mate. Open invitation to come back anytime. Thank you again for listening to me and sharing.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's been.
Thanks for having me, mate. And if I said this at the start, the hardest thing about these conversations is starting them, and starting them is 80% of the work. If you don't know how to start the conversations, send someone this podcast.
Yep.
Send them this podcast, and this is the sign that you want to speak about something, and their responsibility is just to listen, and that's it.
Absolutely. And we'll see you in Abbotsford. I will be there.
Yes.
Great place, that place.
Yeah,
it's
going to be a rip-up.
scenic.
100%.
We'll wrap, but we don't
thanks.
do any big wrap-up stuff. We'll just see you next time sort of thing.
This is see you later, not goodbye.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, thanks for having
Good
me.
to chat
Thanks
to
for
you.
your work.
See you soon.
Cheers, mate.